Alright, we're back for part 2, round 3. Alright, we're going to chain up 3 and then 2 double crochets. Then we're going to double crochet in the space created between our 2 granny hexagons. Again, no chains here. Two granny clusters, not granny hexagons. And then we're going to do a granny cluster in the chain 2 space. Sorry. Now our chain 2 spaces are where our corners are. So we're going to chain 2 after that granny cluster, and then we're going to do another granny cluster in that corner. Next space, no chains. One granny cluster. Next is our corner with our chain 2 space. So granny cluster. Chain 2. Another granny cluster. And we are going to continue our side granny cluster, corner granny clusters, side granny cluster, corner granny cluster, until we get back to where we have one granny cluster in our chain 2 space for our beginning. And I will meet you back here then. So pause the video and come back when you're at that point. Alright, now we have 5 corners, 6 sides, and a half corner. So we are going to do our granny cluster in our last corner, or our first corner, depending on how you look at it, since it's the corner we start in and the corner we stop in. And then we're going to do our half double into the top of that top stitch of that chain 3. To make our chain 2. And we're going to chain up 3. And we're going to crochet, do 2 half doubles for the half of our first / last corner. And yes, indeedy, folks, it is still making our L when we fold it in half. Now, for this row, this is row number 4, we're going to have 6 corners and 2 side clusters. and we will meet back at our last corner for our to end our row. Alright, pause here and meet me back at that corner. Alright, I'm actually at corner number 5 or 6. Well, yeah, they'd be 6 because we start with and end with 1. And I figured I should give you a couple of small tips. My first favorite tip is be consistent. If you're I only put chains for my starting hole and my corners. I don't chain anywhere else because it makes for a smaller hold garment, which is fine. You may not want to chain it. You may want to chain one in between your granny clusters that are not your corners. That's fine. But if you chain one, you have to do it consistently. Like you can't chain one here and not chain one here if you chain one. So as long as you're consistent, you can usually have it look really nice. Not only do you have to be consistent in your row, but you have to be consistent from row 1 to row whatever you do. Whether it be 19, 20, 35. I don't give row numbers for how much you need to do, because I don't know your measurements. I don't know what measurement you're going by. Like I said, I go by 22. Oh, and since we're at our final corner, again, we are doing a half double crochet into the top of our chain 3 instead of chaining 2 and slip stitching to join. Again, this lets us start in the middle of what looks like our chain 2 with a chain 3, so that our first half of our first corner, it creates a more, don't know if you can see it, but it creates a straighter corner. You don't get that jag, and you don't need to turn your work. Chain up 3, cluster. Now we have 3 granny row clusters and lots of corners. And again, if we fold it, because I do this obsessively, the question is, does it still form a weird L? The answer is yes. So we are still got 6 corners. We haven't lost one. Yes, I have done that. And then I had to take out 3 rows on another one and go back and do it. So this is why I check all the time. And that's going to be the end of this video. We are going to continue on till we get 22 inches.